Hey, how is everybody today? Today I want to talk about subjective versus objective reality. I remember saying I was going to talk about this in my previous video, so here I go. Um, so subjective reality is something where you belief system where you actually believe that the entire universe is one consciousness and that you are that consciousness and you're stimulating the world so as if you were living in a dream. And an objective world is the five sense world. The solid world, the world that happens whether or not we're around, the world of, you know, objectivity where where things outside of our awareness actually are happening. Now, those are two big differences in schools of thought. And the weird thing is that there's no real way to know either way for sure whether or not we're living in a subjective or objective universe. But they both have their strengths and they both have their weaknesses. And I figure we'll take a look at both of them. And when I said versus, I don't mean like they're competing against each other. They're more like lenses. It's like your right eye and your left eye. They both have different perspectives on on the world that you see. If you see the world as being a dream, you're less likely to be afraid. You're less likely to be intimidated, knowing that no matter what happens, nothing can truly harm you. And an objective universe definitely generates more fear because if this reality is objective, then it is much more dangerous and we're all apart from each other and so on and so forth. It's more of a us versus them kind of world. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I prefer the subjective model because subjectivity, it's very, things happen a lot more synchronistically. And I guess you could say you get better results. You truly do believe this world is a dream and you can install that belief somehow. And that it's all an illusion, like I've said, holographic illusion. And scientists are starting to come to this realization that the universe is a simulation. Mainstream scientists, so even objective science is starting to agree to some extent that the universe itself is subjective. So, or at least a subjective experience inside an objective container. But as always, there are theories where there was a time in our history where we lived in a society where we knew this world was a dream, a ride, as Bill Hicks called it. And what we did was we lived here. We were in this world, but we were not of it. It's a great way to put it because we enjoyed this world. You know, we had a good time. We did things we enjoyed. There's no fear, and we knew that this world was just, you know, a ride. But, you know, something happened to our species along the way. I would argue a lot of it to do with the Great Flood that's in most ancient accounts, and the reversal of the magnetic reversal of the poles and the turning over of the Earth on its axis due to the moon coming in however it came in, which I'll talk about in another video because this is about objective and subjective reality more than it is about alien creatures or interdimensional creatures that created a base on the moon inside the moon. And that's going to be a fun video to make. The moon, but I mean, there was a time when, you know, humans lived in a way where we knew this world wasn't real, in the sense that it was just a place to go explore, a place to enjoy, and there was no scarcity and no starving people. But of course, something always happens to disrupt the harmony, create disharmony and distortion. And that's why we've been all put into a world that generates maximum fear, because we've forgotten who we really are. Now, I'm not going to say objective universe doesn't have its benefits. I mean, it does help when you're dealing with people in the world, and because most people, through education system and through their parents as a young child, are programmed that the world is, you know, world is all separate parts. None of it fits, you know, none of it's really all one. We're never told we're all one, and we're never told that the world is an illusion, that it's a dreams world. And that kind of world does create fear. And I'd say that it's probably a good place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there because it does have a lot of lessons to teach in objective reality. Like, it can teach you how to overcome fear through progressive training, whereas subjective reality you can literally transcend fear. Because if you truly believe you're living in a dream world and nothing can really hurt you, it's like becoming lucid in a dream, which I don't know any of you have had lucid dreams. I'm sure some of you have. I've had a few back when I first started reading about it, and it always involved money, finding all sorts of money, like at the airport, $100 bills, kept finding them, then thinking, wait a minute, this would never happen. And I think I flew once when I was lucid to get away from some people who were chasing me. I flew onto the top of a building like I was Superman. So, and the question is, if this really is a dream world and we expand our vision of the possible, you know, we expand our perception of the possible, then maybe we could start doing some more things that are thought to be impossible. But until, I guess when you look at it subjectively, until you yourself, or I myself, get past limiting beliefs about this reality, we won't be able to do certain things, such as move things with our mind, until we literally overcome the programming that we've gone through. It's like peeling an onion. It really is. It's more and more layers of beliefs that keep getting, I'd call them false beliefs or limiting beliefs, that get shed as you go down the path of subjective reality. I mean, I do believe that if you're really thinking of yourself as I do, as infinite consciousness having an experience, which is similar to a dream state or a ride or whatever, I think that's a much more fun and interesting way to live your life. And the people that you come in contact with are really just a part of you. But it is very hard to maintain that belief for a long time because everyone around you is reinforcing objectivity. I guess until you find dream characters like yourself. But it's hard to really. I used to write on my hand right here, life is a dream, to keep remembering. I think I might have done a 30-day trial of living subjectively, probably back in 07 or 08. And the things that were happening were unbelievable. I was getting all this extra money out of seemingly random people. I was working at a grocery store and I was out getting shopping carts, and this guy comes up to me and he gives me a $5 bill. And he says, I just wanted to thank you so much for helping out my mother, bringing groceries to her car. And I was like, really? Yeah. He was like, yeah, you really helped her and she really appreciated it. And I was truly amazed because that had never happened to me before. And other crazy things happened too. But it was really when I got started thinking of the world as a dream and how you could, into the intention manifestation model and whatnot. And but then I kind of backed off a bit. I guess it was because subjective reality makes you feel far more responsible for your reality than objectivity does. Now, but I've been trying to get back into it, thinking about it more often. And the best thing to remember is that in a subjective reality, there's nothing that can hurt the fiber of your being. There's nothing that can damage you. You are pretty much invincible as a consciousness. So therefore, there is nothing that can ever harm you. Whereas objectivity, there's all kinds of threats to your physical body. The physical world has all kinds of things that can damage you, which is why I always find the subjective infinite consciousness angle much more expansive and much more full of possibilities. In fact, infinite possibilities. Whereas the objective world has all these laws of physics, and there are some people that can overcome those things. And those are the people that are really in tune and damn, in alignment with life is an illusion, life is a dream, life is a ride. People that can walk on hot coals and not get burnt, things like that. Those are the people that are really understand the reality more on the subjective side at least. And you can get results on both sides. I'm not saying you have to believe in either one, but I do believe the subjective side will give you more possibilities and more. It'll be somewhat easier because you won't be held back by fear. But in the end, there is no way to really know what the universe is, objective or subjective. There's no way to really know for sure because there could always be a simulated reality beneath, a simulated reality beneath, and so on and so forth. We don't know, and there could be an objective underneath a simulation. And we could be, I almost guarantee we're in a simulation right now, but what's below the simulation, an objective or a subjective reality? We don't know. But to choose one over the other for most of the time is what people do anyway. But if you try and stay in the subjective side, you probably connect more through the heart, and objective more through the brain and the gut, more in the reactionary way of thinking instead of the heart knowing. And I really do believe that if we all just saw each other as one, the world would transform overnight. We would. And I guess that's my responsibility now because of the subjective side, me being all that is, has been, and ever can be, and all of us being that. It's like we're all having a dream. I am you, you are me. I believe the quote goes something like this: I am love, you are love. I see great potential within you. I see that same source within me. No, my wisdom flows from the highest source. I see that source within you. Let's work together. And I do believe that the subjective side does lean towards the love polarization, the light worker polarization, service to others, because you're really only serving yourself in that situation. And it really is a great way to live your life. But holding on to that perspective in a world that's programmed to be objective, where everybody thinks, not everybody, but most people think in an objective way, it's very challenging to experience the subjective side 100% of the time because we're always being dragged back down into the, I guess, fear-based world. But, you know, you look at quantum physics and you look at the inside of an atom and whatnot, to an extent, it proves that this world is an illusion, that it is not solid, and that it is consciousness and energy that is making this world appear solid. And it's all happening inside of our brains, really. And the world we see is not outside of us, it is inside of us. Without the brain, the world does not have heat, light, or anything else. So, I mean, there are two ways of looking. There's more than two ways of looking at the world, but just these two. I mean, in a subjective world simulating an objective world is another way to look at it, where it is a dream and it's simulating an objective universe, but it's still a dream, or an objective universe creating a simulation through science or whatever. And that's what we're living in. Either way, I do believe, and this is just my humble opinion, subjective is better than objective for me. But hey, it's your choice. It's a fundamental choice that you get to make if you want to make it at all, which most people probably do not, or they just go with the objective model because that's what they've been taught. They don't, but they never make the choice. They just go with what they've been taught, and that's always going to be a suboptimal thing. I have much more respect for somebody who's done the research on both sides, done the experiences on both sides, and then went back to objective, and somebody born into a subjective family. If that makes any sense, and just brought up subjectively. I mean, I'd rather someone make the choice consciously and deliberately than just be born into something. Like somebody born into a religion, usually not as fervent about it as someone who, I guess, comes into it later in life, like born again Christians seem to have consciously chosen it. Maybe not consciously chosen it, but at least chose it in a way. I don't know. I had a joke about born again Christians I put on Facebook. It's really funny. A lot of people liked it. Although I can't take full credit for it. I did hear it from South Park. Has to do with you think born again Christians ever say things like hey, 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 I wasn't born again yesterday. And because I'm at in South Park did this episode, one of my favorites, where they made a Christian rock album. Some of the kids did, and Cartman was the leader of it. And he took all these love songs. He replaced "Baby" and "Honey" with "Jesus," and they did like this commercial. This is way out of scope of what I'm talking about today, but it's just really funny. So it like goes on this thing like K-Tel Records presents, and it should throw all these songs like "One time, two times, three times, my Savior." And I want to get down on my knees and stop pleasing Jesus. And all kinds of really hilarious songs. I want to walk hand in hand with Jesus on a private beach for two. I want him to nibble on my ear and say, I'm here for you. And all these hilarious songs. And one of them was, I might be born again, but I wasn't born again yesterday. And it's just so funny. I mean, you haven't seen South Park. It's hilarious. And that's a little bit of a subjective world as well. I don't know. I don't know what you'd call that. It's a very two-dimensional world. Characters are very two-dimensional. They don't develop them enough. It's a very good show. Hilarious. But besides that detour, I think it's time to quit doing the video now. I think I've gone beyond my allotted time. I mean, but just give these ideas some thoughts, whether or not you want to polarize, as it's called, to subjective or objective. It's up to you. You don't have to. But I suggest trying each one out and noting your results. And once you do that, you'll get a better idea of which one is right for you. Anyway, it's been great talking with you. I really enjoyed our conversation. And as Jimmy Cliff says, we all are one. We are the same person. I'll be you, you be me. Thank you. Have a good day. We all are one. We are